What if I told you that one of the greatest threats to modern civilization comes from something we can't see, can't hear, and can't stop? Right now, above our heads, the sun is brewing storms so powerful they could knock out the world's power grids, disrupt satellites, and plunge us into chaos. And the scariest part, it's happened before, and it could happen again, at any moment. Solar storms aren't just some distant cosmic curiosity, they're a ticking time bomb. Today we're diving into the incredible science of solar storms, uncovering their devastating potential and answering the million-dollar question, are we truly prepared for this looming catastrophe? Trust me, this is something you'll want to share because the stakes are higher than you think. What are solar storms? Solar storms are cosmic tantrums unleashed by the sun, violent outbursts of energy and charged particles that can travel millions of miles through space. At the heart of these storms are solar flares, bursts of electromagnetic radiation so intense they can disrupt radio communications on Earth in minutes. And then there's the real monster coronal mass ejections. These are billion-ton clouds of plasma that, when hurled toward Earth, can collide with our planet's magnetic field like a wrecking ball. Picture the sun as a loaded cannon. When it fires, the debris races toward Earth at speeds of up to 1,000,000 miles per hour. It's not just fascinating, it's terrifying. These particles can cause a geomagnetic storm, a phenomenon capable of frying satellites, disabling power grids, and even endangering astronauts in orbit. In 1859, the Earth experienced a solar storm so massive it was like the sun threw a cosmic haymaker. Known as the Carrington event, it lit up the skies with auroras so bright that people in the Caribbean could read newspapers at night. But the real shock came when telegraph systems worldwide began sparking and failing. Operators were stunned as electrical currents surged through their equipment, even with no batteries connected. And that was in 1859, before we depended on electricity for nearly every aspect of our lives. Fast forward to 1989, and a smaller solar storm knocked out power to the entire province of Quebec in Canada, leaving millions in the dark. Imagine that happening today, but on a global scale. Airports grounded, hospitals struggling, no internet, no phones, no banking systems. The modern world grinding to a halt, all because of a storm in space. Here's the harsh truth. The infrastructure we rely on every day, power grids, satellites, GPS systems, is astonishingly vulnerable to solar storms. When a coronal mass ejection slams into Earth's magnetic field, it creates geomagnetically induced currents, essentially electrical surges that flow through power lines and transformers. It's like overloading a circuit, but instead of blowing a fuse, you're frying the systems that power entire continents. The damage wouldn't just be inconvenient, it would be catastrophic. In a worst-case scenario, power outages could last months or even years. Transformers are expensive and time-consuming to replace, and global supply chains wouldn't be able to keep up. Financial losses from a major solar storm could reach trillions of dollars, and the human cost? Unimaginable. Satellites, too, are at risk. These storms can scramble GPS signals, disrupt communications, and even push satellites out of orbit. In an age where we rely on space technology for everything from navigation to weather forecasting, the stakes couldn't be higher. The unsettling reality is that while we've made strides in understanding solar storms, our ability to protect against them is woefully inadequate. Organizations like NASA and NOAA monitor the sun constantly, using satellites to detect signs of solar activity. If they spot a potentially dangerous event, they can issue warnings giving us hours or, in rare cases, days to prepare. But here's the catch. Preparation often means little more than shutting down vulnerable systems and hoping for the best. The idea of upgrading power grids to withstand geomagnetic storms has been discussed for years, but the cost is staggering. And while some regions have begun taking steps to protect their infrastructure, the majority of the world remains exposed. It's a sobering thought. We've built a world that's more advanced than ever, yet it's precariously balanced on a system that the sun could wipe out in a single storm. For all their destructive potential, solar storms also have a breathtaking side. When charged particles from the sun collide with Earth's atmosphere, they create dazzling light displays known as auroras. These dancing ribbons of green, red, and purple light are a direct result of the sun's fury, and they've captivated humans for centuries. But even this beauty hides a darker truth. The more intense the auroras, the more severe the geomagnetic storm that causes them. So while you might marvel at the northern lights from your backyard, a stronger storm could mean you're also watching the early signs of a global blackout. Solar storms aren't just a problem for scientists or governments, they're a problem for all of us. And the clock is ticking. The sun operates on an 11-year cycle of activity, with periods of solar maximum, when storms are most likely, and solar minimum. Right now, we're approaching a solar maximum, which means the risk of a major event is higher than it's been in years. This isn't a question of if a massive solar storm will hit Earth. It's a question of when. The Carrington event happened over 160 years ago, and scientists warn that we're overdue for another major storm. The longer we go without one, the closer we get to the next big hit. Solar storms are a stark reminder of just how fragile our world is. They're a force of nature that can't be stopped, only understood. But understanding them isn't enough. We need to act. Whether it's investing in stronger infrastructure or developing new technologies to predict and mitigate their effects, the time to prepare is now. If this video left you as awestruck as it did me, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with friends, family, and anyone who might underestimate the power of space weather. Like, comment, and subscribe to join the conversation. And let's make sure the world is ready for the next storm. Because when the sun decides to send another warning shot, we'll need to be more than just spectators.